One of the biggest mysteries in Peppa Pig is all about Suzys dad, who has never officially appeared. But what most people don't know is that he's actually shown up in several episodes. Are you ready to find out where and how Mr. Sheep has been hiding in Peppa's world? The narrator. One of the biggest fan theories in the Peppa Pig universe is that the narrator, the one who's in every episode, is actually Suzys dad. But why do some fans believe that? It's actually an easy question to answer. In Peppa's world, we know the parents of nearly all her friends, but that rule doesn't apply to Suzy, and that makes no sense, especially since she's Peppa's best friend. Everybody knows that aside from Peppa and George, the next most important kid in the show is Suzy, so naturally we should know more about her family. The narrator is the only character who's present in every part of their lives, and since Mr. Sheep is the one dad we've never seen, the theory fits perfectly. This character is always watching over Peppa and her friends, so it makes sense that he could be someone who's taking care of the main crew. Maybe one day the show's creators will finally reveal the truth about Suzys dad, but until then, you can count on us to show you all the mysteries hidden in Peppa Pig. So grab your popcorn, because you're watching another Cinewave video. The phone call. Did you ever notice that Mrs. Sheep talks to a mystery person on the phone during the episode Suzy Goes Away? What if it's her ex-husband? Hold on, it's not that far-fetched. We've seen that Suzy has two big dreams. She wants to be a nurse, but she also wants to fly airplanes while working in the hospital, which makes no sense at all. But what if that actually means something? Maybe Suzy wants to fly somewhere far away because she's dreaming of going to visit someone she misses. In the episode where Mrs. Sheep is on the phone, we believe the person she's talking to is her ex-husband. Suzy seemed really happy about moving away, which makes us think they were planning to live closer to her dad. But that didn't work out because Mrs. Sheep didn't get the job. So what does that mean for Suzy's family? The show never explains why her parents are separated, but that doesn't mean they couldn't make up and fall back in love again. Also, Mrs. Sheep has no real reason to keep her daughter away from her father, so every time we see her on the phone, it's very likely she's talking to Suzys dad. What do you think? The future. In the episode The Future, we see Mrs. Sheep and Mummy Pig all dressed up and getting ready to go out. And this might be solid proof that Suzys dad is part of the story. The theory goes that both moms were heading out on a double date that night. Mummy Pig, of course, was going with Daddy Pig, her husband. But Mrs. Sheep? She was with Suzys dad, her boyfriend, who doesn't live with her and Suzy. But wait, how does that make sense? Well, it's not that unusual. Some couples are in love but don't live together. A good example is Mr. Bull and Mrs. Cow. They've had a daughter, Claire Cow, since season 1, but only got married recently. There's nothing stopping Suzys dad from being someone who's always lived in town. He just doesn't live with Mrs. Sheep. Maybe he'll show up out of nowhere just like the show did with Aunt Dottie. That'd be hilarious. The tent. You've probably seen the episode The Children's Festival more than once, but did you ever catch the clue about Suzys dad hidden in her tent? In this episode, Peppa and her friends go to a fun community event where they get to camp out in tents for the weekend. But when Peppa and her family visit Suzy's tent, something really strange happens. The tent is super fancy, more like a luxury hotel than a campsite. They had a bathroom with a toilet, sink, and a hot water bathtub. There was also a cozy living room with a big TV and a bed filled with comfy pillows. This makes it pretty clear that Suzys dad was the one who set up the tent. Mrs. Sheep definitely didn't have the time to do all that. From the start of the episode, Suzy and her mom are seen walking around the festival with Peppa's family. So they couldn't have been the ones to build that amazing tent. There's only one person who could have done it. Mr. Sheep. Do you believe this theory? Would you like to go camping with Peppa? Drop a hashtag yes in the comments so we can meet you. Italy. Another theory about Suzy's dad has everything to do with the Pig family's trip to Italy. Let's remember how that episode starts. Suzy comes over to Peppa's house to hang out, and that's pretty normal. Friends who live close by often drop in to play. But when Peppa is already in Italy, Suzy comes over again just to see if she's back from vacation, and the reason is actually super simple. Mr. Sheep wanted some alone time with his wife. At that moment, Suzy walks over to Peppa's house all by herself in the rain, even though she knows her friend isn't home. That's because there's no way Peppa didn't tell her how long she'd be away. It's totally normal for couples with kids to want some alone time. That helps keep the romance alive. And since it's clear that Suzy's dad doesn't live with her, it's easy to imagine the couple spends time together when their daughter is over at Peppa's. Could this really be true? Because if it is, we can totally compare Suzy's parents to Mr. Bull and Mrs. Cow. Maybe one day they'll get married just like Claire Cow's parents eventually did. Could that be the next big surprise in Peppa Pig? Get ready for Mrs. Sheep's wedding. Video. Do you remember the episode Time Capsule? That story is super important across the entire Peppa Pig series. In that episode, we see a video showing the parents when they were kids. That tape was buried underground for a long time by Madame Gazelle, and even though Mr. Sheep doesn't appear directly, he's there. But how is that possible? According to Madame Gazelle, she taught all the parents in the show. Let's repeat that to make it crystal clear. Madame Gazelle was the teacher of every single parent in Peppa Pig. So of course she taught Mr. Sheep too. In fact, one of the items buried in the capsule was Mrs. Sheep's favorite music record, and she was born in that same town, just like the rest of them. In other words, the video showing the adults as kids is a memory from a time when Suzys' dad was still around, hanging out with his friends. Which is pretty strange, because if they've all known each other since childhood, why has no one ever mentioned Mr. Sheep? Could there be something mysterious about Suzys' family's past? Camera. Here's another theory that makes a whole lot of sense. What if Suzys' dad is actually the cameraman who's following the pig family around during the episodes? In the episode George's New Clothes, we actually learn that there is a camera tracking the main characters. When the pig family is jumping in muddy puddles, the camera lens gets splashed with mud, which proves there's a TV crew filming our main characters. In TV land, we see Peppa doing the intro for the show while introducing her family to the audience. And guess who's watching? Suzy. That's a big clue that the TV program has some sort of connection with the sheep family. So what does it all mean? It's simple. The pig family is part of a television show, but they don't know it. And Suzys' dad is the one filming everything. That's why we never see Mr. Sheep. Nobody ever sees who's behind the camera. Mr. Potato. Have you ever stopped to think that Mr. Potato might actually be Mr. Sheep dressed up as a vegetable? Yeah, we know, that sounds like a wild twist, but hear us out. In real life, you've definitely seen people wearing costumes to pretend they're cartoon characters, and maybe you haven't realized it yet, but it's totally possible that Mr. Potato is just a grown-up wearing a silly outfit. But why would he be Suzy Sheep's dad? Let's go back to the scene where Suzy and her mom are at the tent. When Mrs. Sheep turns on the TV, who shows up? Mr. Potato. And in the TV Land episode, when Suzy is watching, guess who's on screen again? Yep, Mr. Potato. That's a pretty strong clue that Suzy and Mr. Potato are somehow connected. Could they actually be father and daughter? And hey, are you going to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell now? This is the perfect time to join our crew. Mr. Goat. Here's another theory that's all about Mr. Goat, the pool cleaner who shows up during Peppa's trip to Italy. You might not know this, but in the animal kingdom, goats and sheep can have children together. So there's nothing stopping this character from being Suzys' dad. He also has a daughter named Gabriella, and if you pay close attention, you'll see that Gabriella and Suzy look a lot alike. It's totally possible that they're sisters, but their parents split up and each one kept one of the girls. Could we one day see this family reunite? Hospital. Suzy's biggest dream is to become a nurse, and in the episode where Pedro Pony is in the hospital, the group goes to visit him, and Suzy tells her friends that sick people sleep for a long time. The fact that Suzy knows that kind of detail makes us think that maybe her dad is asleep somewhere because of an illness. Could that be the real reason we never see Mr. Sheep? That's actually very possible. What do you think? Pajamas. Have you ever looked closely at Suzy's pajamas? There's an anchor on them, but what does that even mean? It's simple. There are only a few characters in the show who have any connection to the ocean, and Suzy isn't one of them. So the only explanation that makes sense is this. Suzys' dad is a sailor. That's why we never see him. He's traveling across the sea, and Suzy probably wears one of his old shirts as pajamas because she misses him. Speaking of missing someone, you don't have to miss us. We've always got new videos here for true animation fans. We've picked 2 more awesome videos for you to enjoy. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now!